Books are expensive in our country. Even our seminary used photocopies. I still have some of the pamphlets, just photocopies of a book, literally just a photocopy. They put the book right there open and the photocopy and stapled, and here's the material, you read it, and that's how I started.
Think about the 10 most impactful books to you. They're probably not all translated into Spanish yet. The way that all interacts with Books for Pastors is Don and his wife had invited us to lunch.
He said, you know, we're thinking about doing a pastor's conference. He said, I had heard from someone in your church that you just taught a long course on theology.
And so we started talking about and dreaming about doing a conference together. And so we stayed in touch after that day, and the Lord helped us put together the very first conference in Honduras.
And as I'm preparing to try and understand who my audience is, I'm looking up some of the statistics on Honduras. Honduras in general is a very poor country, and I'm surrounded with all these books. I've got my computer, and I've got 3 or 4 books all around me that I'm studying and saying, this is ridiculous. I've got so much at my fingertips. I've got these 4 books here. I've got 1,000 books on my computer that I could study from. And I said, and these guys in Honduras, they probably can't even afford a book. And so I said, we've got to do something here. And so it dawned on me. I said, well, what if I could get this theology book that I'm using and get that in Spanish? Well, the funny thing is, God took care of providing the funds. He also took care of arranging the contacts for me. Because the first thing I did, I knew which book I wanted to get. You know, I wanted to get the Charles Ryrie Basic Theology book, because that seems to be the most readable and the easiest for people to understand. One contact led to another, and one led to another, and finally I ran into an organization called the Langham Partnership that's based out of the UK, which was founded originally by John Stott. And they have a ministry where they provide resources to pastors primarily in Africa and Asia. And so when I asked them about this, they had a number of Spanish language books, and so they said, yes, we can source these for you, and that's not a problem. So when I ordered them, I said, can you ship these books? I need 200 of them to go to Honduras. They said, sure, and they gave me a price that was less than half price of the retail price of the book, and that was shipped into Honduras directly. And they said, oh, by the way, we also have packets of leadership books that are in Spanish, and the nice thing that you're going to like is those booklets are going to be provided free of charge. So God just put it all together and allowed me just to be present to watch.
So if I think of the pastors that, for example, came to that pastor conference, oh my goodness, there are pastors that traveled hours on bus to come there, and seeing their faces, you know, so joyfully going back with their books, it was just amazing.
The first guy came up to get his book, and he had already seen them on the table, so he knew what he wanted. He came up, he picked up his book, and when he got it, had the biggest grin on his face, and he took it, kissed it, held it up to God, and said, thank you, God. To me, it's a book. To him, it was one of the most priceless things he could ever have.
I had never met Mr. Dunn until he came to Honduras. But I mean, we connected, and he played trumpet at our church. We went to 2 different places, and they loved it. Even afterwards, I think, even 2 years later, people kept asking me, when are we going to do another conference? That told me, at least, how desperate our cultural church leaders and pastors are for getting some good, sound doctrinal teaching and good books. There's a huge need for that. I mean, that could tell me how desperate we are, because, like I said, when you're being trained, you get photocopies.
Training others and teaching them to train others as well. It's a simple way that you can be involved, but there will be a return on the investment in 1 or 2 or 10 or hundreds of lives because of these resources that are being given to others. It's just an invaluable way to invest into a book, and that book will invest into many different lives.